Welcome to Something to Talk About.
Yeah, really loud.
Welcome to Something to Talk About.
Hi! Welcome to Maester Week! Da-da-da-da! 3 Maesters! That's right. This is our first one. And we're starting with the pretty messed up one. Okay, before we get going, I have 2 things to do. One is to show you this, tell you to read it if you haven't read it before, and that's it. And my second thing is we are covering Maester Kerwin for our first Maester for Maester Week, where we're covering 3 different Maesters. And I do want you to know, trigger warning, Maester Kerwin has a very messed up story. So there is some offensive stuff going on here, specifically sexual violence. So if that's something that you don't like hearing about, this video isn't for you. Go ahead and don't watch it, please. I don't want to cover a topic that is going to ruin anybody's day. So if that sort of subject does ruin your day, I implore you not to continue to watch this video. But I do, try to cover it as nicely as I can. I do explain what happened in the books. I don't make it any more egregious than it needs to be. But yeah, so just letting you know, if you're on the fence, maybe you can watch it. But I don't want to get any comments that that they didn't know about it and that that it completely triggered stuff. And yeah. Anyways, that heaviness out of the way, let's talk about Maester Kerwin. 3 freaking Maesters, 1 week. Are you guys ready to go? Let's go! All right, Maester Kerwin is of the Citadel. Oh my God, Kerwin is a Maester of the Citadel in House Chester in service of House Chester of Greenshield. He taught the children of House Chester. Victarion Greyjoy considers Kerwin to be girlish with soft hands, soft cheek, and long brown curled hair. Victarion estimates him to be about 22 in 300 AC, which is when this book takes place. But of course, if you're not holding an axe covered in the blood of your enemies, Victarion would probably think you're girly. He'd probably think I'm girly. He'd be like, when was the last time you slaughtered your enemies? I'm like, I don't really fight much. Girly! Okay. I don't think I'm girly. I think I'm a manly man. But yeah. Anyways, Kerwin, he thinks Kerwin's girly. I'm just saying that, like, when I'm like, oh, and he's girly, it's like, just remember who thinks that. Okay, right? All right. Cool. The Order of Maesters. Emails. The Order of Maesters. The Maesters are an order of scholars, healers, messengers, and scientists. They educate new students at the Citadel, which is an old town, a city in the Reach. House Hightower was integral in the Citadel's foundation and continues to support the order as advisors to Westerosi nobility. The Maesters have largely supplanted the Alchemist Guild. They are sometimes called the Knights of the Mind. A Maester can be recognized by the chain he wears around his neck. The collar is indicated or intended to remind the Maester of the realm he serves. The links of the chain can be made of every metal known to man. Each link signifies a subject they have mastered, or he mastered, because there's no girl maesters. Well, there might be, whatever. We'll cover that later. Not in Maester Week, but soon, actually. Right after Maester Week, I'm pretty sure. But I did so before we get into Kerwin, I still want to cover one more. So like I normally cover the house, but this is Maester Week, so I'm just going to bring up this slide every day or every video this week. But he actually did serve a house, so let's talk about House Chester of Greenfield. House Chester of Greenfield rules over Greenfield. Duh. One of these shield islands in the Reach. Their arms are a green hand on gold shield on green field with a border of red. These shield islands are are a considerable naval power and were the first line of defense during the days where ironborn pirates tried to sail up the Manor to seek wealth of the Reach. When did those days end? All right, so pretty much all of this moving forward, besides his backstory, is all from one chapter in Dance. So this is where our story takes place. Victarion Greyjoy's on his way to Dany when this chapter is from. But before we get there, actually I got more backstory. What did I lie? I got one more to set the stage a little bit. All right. So we will talk about the taking of the Shield Isles. So the taking of the Shields is the opening battle of Euron Greyjoy's new campaign after he wins the King's Moot. I did talk about every single King's Moot guy, and yeah, it was 1 week. I did King's Moot week, so go check it out because I love the King's Moot. All right. So after his ascension to King of Isles and the North, he attacks the Reach. Oh man, I skipped my joke. After he wins the King's Moot over the rightful king, Gilbert Farwind. Yeah, no, I would have voted for Gilbert Farwind, 1,000,000%. The battle takes place in and around the Shield Isles off the western coast of the Reach. Torbolt Browntooth and the Red Oarsmen lead 12 ironborn longships up the river Mandor to draw out the defenses of the Shield Isle. Instead of sailing along the Reach's coast, Euron Greyjoy leads the other ironborn ships out into the Sunset Sea and attacks the shields from the west with the setting sun at their backs as they approach. So what do I mean? Well, the Red Oarsmen and Browntooth, they come up, they're like, hey, Shield Isles, and then they run up the Bandor and they're like, we're going to go do stuff up here, oh, come get us. And then a lot of the ships do, and then instead of like showing up where people could see, out from the middle of the ocean comes all the rest of the Ironborn led by Euron, and they just ravage the Shield Isles, right? So that's how that happens, and it's pretty cool. The islands of Greyshield, Greenshield, which we're talking about, and South Shield are captured before the next morning, while Oakenshield lasts half a day. Euron uses Oakenshield Castle as Lord Hewitt's at Lord Hewitt's town as his base, with Lord Humphrey Hewitt and his family captured. Lord Chester is slain during the attack, right? We're talking about House Chester, of the Ironborn, led by Euron Greyjoy. After the Battle of the Shield Isles, Euron gives Greyshield to Lord Meryn Volmark, a young boy of 6 and 10. Is that a young boy, 16-year-old? Anyways, like, so an already Lord Volmark now has Greenshield, which is where he comes from. So now we finally get to talk about that chapter, like I said. All right, so the Iron Victory. So after the taking of the shields, Kerwin is forced to serve Victarion Greyjoy by his brother, King Euron. He is brought on board being dragged by his maester chain by one of Euron's mutes, because Euron Greyjoy has a boat of mutes. It's awful. Victarion's Iron Fleet set sail after the Stepstones. They split into 3 squadrons and set sail for Marine. Victarion's squadron, right, like I said, 3 squadrons, follow the coast of the Disputed Lands and continue past Volantis Peninsula, or continues past in the Valyrian Peninsula. Also aboard the Iron Victory is the Dusky Woman. So Victarion thinks that the Dusky Woman and Kerwin are both, quote, poison. He keeps saying Euron's gifts are poison to himself. So what do I mean by that? So he has this like bed servant named the Dusky Woman who is given to him by Euron, and he's immediately like, I don't trust you. But he starts like pretty much sleeping with her every night and also using her as like his main advisor, even though she's mute, but he like tells her all of his plans. I don't trust you, but here are all my plans. And then Kerwin, and he doesn't trust anything Euron gives him, and every time Euron's like, here's a thing, brother, he goes, your gifts are poison. Yeah, Victarion goes full Victarion in this chapter. Oh no. Yeah, so he thinks that the gifts are poison, so he doesn't really trust Kerwin. When Kerwin first comes aboard the Iron Victory, he has a smirky little smile until he smiles at the wrong man. Burton Humble knocks out half of his teeth. Ouch. Kerwin then came up to Vic, claiming that 4 men took Kerwin below deck and, quote, used him like a woman. Now, that's the thing that I was talking about earlier. All Vic did was give him a knife for self-defense. Yeah, so Kerwin gets sexually assaulted by 4 men, and then he goes up and he's like, hey, this happened. And then Vic's like, here's a knife. What else do you want? This Victarion Greyjoy is kind of awful. All right. Yeah. Victarion loses nearly half his ship by the time the Iron Fleet reaches the Isle of Cedars. That's where this chapter takes place. He dislikes all the monkeys that are aboard the ship from the Isle of Cedars. Victarion's hand was wounded while taking the shield. Right, he got cut by Talbot Sari, I believe. That's off the dome. I believe I'm right though. And it continues to trouble him. Kerwin tells Victarion the Isles were once called the Isles of 100 Battles, but the men who fought the battles have been dust for centuries. Kerwin treats Vic after he awakens from a nightmare with a mouthful of blood, and he informs the captain that he bit his tongue. Yeah, so I'm just setting all this. There's all this stuff that happens before the chapter, but yeah, now they're at the Isle of Cedars. That horrible stuff happened to Kerwin, and Kerwin's been trying to teach him and like, hey, this is like the history of these islands, and then he's like trying to treat because he has an awful dream, like a nightmare, and he wakes up with his mouth full of blood. So he calls for Kerwin, and Kerwin's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you just chewed through. Like, oh, God. So, yeah. All right. Off to a good start, Kerwin. The hand. One night while the dusky woman is tending to his hand, Kerwin enters timid like a mouse, and Vic thinks he also looks like a mouse. So he starts calling him a mouse after this. He asks to see Vic's hand, and he presents it to Kerwin, who then sniffs it and inspects it. Vic is also like, wow, he's even sniffing my hand like a mouse, like not knowing that infection actually has a smell, because Vic's an idiot. He's like, oh, what, are you going to eat it? He's like, no, I'm doing doctor stuff. Just shut up. No, you bastard. So he informs the captain that it is infested and it needs the pus drained, and suggests that he might need to amputate it. Vicky says that if he does that, he will need to kill him after letting the crew all assault him first, of course. Yeah. I believe the phrasing was like, I might have to amputate your hand. He's like, you amputate my hand, I'm going to kill you. But after I like make a gift of your blah to everybody. So yeah, he's awful. Lots of awful stuff in this one. Yay! Maester Week starting up right. Ugh. Oh my God. All right. So yeah. So Vic tells him to get on with it, and the timid Maester tells him that there will be pain. There will be pain. That's what I'm going with. And Vic thinks that life is pain because he's so edgy. Kerwin cuts the hand and lets the foul pus come out. Yuck. Making the young Maester gag by the smell, and yeah, ugh. Vic demands he cuts deeper until they see blood. So he does, and the blood looks dark. Jeez. Kerwin then cleans the hand and pus, and then Vic then dismisses the Maester and has the dusky woman wrap up the wounds after the timid boy leaves. This is a fun one. All right. Moqorro! Victarion sits below deck thinking about the man who cut him. Oh, Albert Sari. Did I say Talbert earlier? Is it Albert Sari? Wow, now I'm not sure. All right, yeah, no, I just went and checked it up. I misspelled it here. I was right off the dome earlier, but now I misspelled it. So I was wrong once and right once, so I'm even. Thinking that Sari had poisoned him from the grave, but Sari couldn't have done that. Vic thinks because Sari was a knight, and poison is not a knight's style. So if not Sari, Kerwin must be the one poisoning him, Vic thinks. He thinks Kerwin has no cause to take revenge on him, since it was Euron who took him prisoner from House Chester. Yeah, because you treated him just so nice this whole time. Jeez. It's like, what? I've been nice to Kerwin. I gave him that knife that one time. Can't remember why I gave it to him for. I wasn't really paying attention. Jeez. All right. Okay, yeah, so, where was I? Captain Roderick Spar, called the Vole, from a ship that just arrived named the Grief, brings Vic the Red Priest Moqorro, who was swept overboard and spent 10 days in the water. Vic doubts a man can live after that. So do I. Moqorro tells Vic who he is. Moqorro tells Victarion Greyjoy that he's like, I know who you are, Victarion Greyjoy. And he goes, oh, maybe you got some weird stuff going on there, buddy. Moqorro claims he has seen him in his night fires and that he can heal his hand. He needs fire, a silver knife, and a silver knife, claiming that his hand will be returned to him. So if you guys don't know, if you don't remember Moqorro, he's a second in command at Volantis. I don't have this in front of me. Bonaro. People are going to be correcting me, but I'm trying to pull this all off the dome. Is the guy who's in charge of Volantis, and then he actually sends Moqorro there, and he then gets watched. He's supposed to be going to Daenerys, and he gets washed ashore. And then now Vic is picking up. But Moqorro is a gigantic, like pure black, like charcoal black skin with a bunch of crazy tattoos, red priest. And he's just huge, and he's got this unnaturally deep voice. And yeah, Moqorro's freaking awesome. I'm just saying. He's pretty cool. Vic warns him that if the Red Priest fails, he will cut his throat and throw him overboard. So then Moqorro's like, yeah, I like that deal. Let's go in. And so they go into the cabin, and sounds of wild laughter come from the cabin, scaring all the monkeys off the ship. That's terrifying. And when Vic comes out, he has a black hand. Right? That's the picture I got here. Like it's like almost like a dragon hand. It's all scaled and scarred and smoking and crackling. And he points at Kerwin, saying, that one, cut his throat and throw him into the sea. So he warns Moqorro, like, if you mess up, I'm cutting your throat and throwing you into the sea. But Moqorro then fixes his hand, and then it's all crusted and black, and he comes out. And he's like, no, we're keeping that one. Kill the Maester. And then Kerwin's dead. So, not the most joyful way to start off Maester Week. I'm sorry, guys, but he's a cool character. I like Kerwin. I feel so bad for him. He just seems like a really nice, sweet, like innocent guy who like just gets captive by the worst people and then put onto Victarion ship and just has a really awful time. And then as he's just trying to fix this guy's infective hand, he fails and then gets murdered for his troubles. Awful. All right, let's talk about some theories. Poisoned? First off, this is all from the chapter Iron Suitor, right? So this is all dance, Iron Suitor. And I heard in my research, checking this chapter out, that this is the only chapter that actually leaves the character's POV when Vic goes into the cabin. So like I said, he goes into the cabin and then the POV stays out of the cabin. and we just hear the laughter and the monkeys running away in terror. So cool. So this chapter leaves POV. I don't know if that's true because I didn't, in preparation of this video, read every single chapter specifically looking for that. But upon the little bit of research I had time to do, yeah, it actually does seem that this is one of the only chapters, if not the only chapter. I have seen people say that Dany's chapter leaves her point of view when she goes into the tent, but that's absolutely not true. We do see her point of view when she's in the tent when all the weird ghosts are dancing around her and stuff. No, I think this might actually be the only time that the POV gets removed from the POV character, and that's really cool if that's true. It might not be true. Like I said, I didn't go over every single chapter in the last 2 days, and I feel like that's very reasonable of me. So yeah, but if that's true, that's really cool. That's it. So yeah, and then so I did find a post by Bedwick, it's the guy who wrote the post on Westeros.org, breaking down the possibility that Vic was actually poisoned by Kerwin, and it is not just an infection. I'm not sure if I'm convinced, but go ahead and find that chapter, or find that theory if you guys want to check it out. But I wouldn't be shocked because he absolutely does have it coming. Yeah. When Victarion has the audacity of like, I never wronged Kerwin. It's like, oh my God. No, he definitely has it coming. If Kerwin was poisoning Victarion for a way to somehow try to get out of this by killing his captives, I don't blame Kerwin at all. I like Vic. Like, Vic's a crazy, awesome character. He's an awful, awful person. Yeah. That's it. Maester Week. Starting off bleak. I hope you guys are pumped. So next we're going to the Vale for Maester Coleman. And then we're going back in the day for a Grand Maester and checking out Grand Maester Bennifer. So yeah, hope you guys are here for that. That's going on all week. So that's it. Happy Maester Week. Peace.